most people have a difficult time talking about sex. Most of the time, people feel that just talking about sex brings about a lack of confidence in having a conversation about sex. Sex addiction happens all the time. And the question is, people feel if they have a conversation, they're having a conversation that a person who has a form of addiction to something that has to do with sex. And that's not what it's about. I wanted to talk about this because it's about this type of talk that I want to do is about the compulsion, the secrecy, and the emotional escape that people have with sex addiction. And we don't talk about that. It's bad enough we don't have the talk about sex, but we don't even have the talk because you don't know when a person has a sex addiction. And it's so important that you all follow me on this talk. In relationships, sex addiction often shows up as betrayal because there's something that someone is doing that causes a lack of emotion within that relationship. They break the trust by cheating and doing something else. They confuse the relationships to be just about sex and nothing emotionally. And it's just about an addiction to sex. And this especially happens for women who feel something is wrong and really can't quite understand what it is. And that person has a sex addiction of something. What is it? What is it? And that is what I want to talk about. So today, I'm here with Love Dr. Pamela. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to break down the top types of sex addiction that harm relationships because we don't talk about it and why people develop it and how you can actually be done or stop the cycle. That's it. It's only so many ways you can deal with a sex addiction. And I just want to talk about the different type of sex addiction. So stay with me. Thank you for joining me and continue to comment and like, subscribe, and thank you for hitting that notification button and following me and getting the talks that's going to help you through your journey of love and relationships. So thank you for being a part of Love Dr. Pamela. So let's go into this about sex addiction. Now, let's talk about what sex addiction is. Now, sex addiction is a compulsive pattern of sexual thoughts and desires and behaviors that you use to regulate emotions. Okay, so you escape it through stress, or you want to soothe how you feel. You want to resolve unresolved wounds. You know, it's about just getting a control of your thoughts. It's based on the sexual thoughts that processes into an addiction. Okay, people have negative about it and brings about some type of consequences within it because it does cause a lack of trust, commitment, and it could damage your relationship. Okay. So this is why I want to go into it so you can get an understanding that some people do have this. And what is it that you're capable of doing within that relationship? Just like number one, porn addiction. Porn addiction is easy to be addicted to because it's so free. You can get it on the internet and it's free. If you have a phone or computer, you're able to see it. And so you always have this emotional, compulsive emotion that you want to watch it all the time. And you start getting connected to it. And you emotionally and physically have intimacy with the porn. You're so addicted to it and watching it. And so if you get it in an early exposure, especially if that person gets an early exposure, it causes loneliness. And it causes anxiety and it causes emotional avoidance because the way you are engaging in porn. So it continues when it gets out of control without any help of dealing with it because the person is dealing with some form of stress and using pornography to maybe release the stress. It could be some form of vulnerability that they have with their bodies or themselves, or with intimacy. The way you deal with a person who have porn addiction is that you have to directly have a conversation about the emotional rejection that is happening within the relationship, because they're more excited about experiencing that versus the relationship. And so you have to have some type of accountability to that relationship if they want to rebuild emotional intimacy with you. And you have to have clear boundaries about that. So you have to have a conversation. And they of course, have to get therapy. So don't think for 1 minute that you're going to be able to fix that. A person with a sex addiction has to get therapy, okay? A person that has infidelity addiction, it's almost like a compulsive infidelity addiction. And it happens. And I mean, I've had a client that was married, and she knew that her husband feeded off of having infidelity with women often. And it was repeated, and she stayed. And his addiction was driven by thrill, but he didn't want to end his marriage. And it actually wasn't even a secrecy, but most people with infidelity addiction have a secrecy. You wouldn't even know that they're out there like that. And it involves their ego a lot of times. And this is why they're out there doing it. What causes is just they have a low self-esteem. They have a low self-value of themselves. It's almost like a fear of abandonment. And a narcissist. Because that is involving their ego. That's a lot of times narcissists have those forms of that. And so it continues because it's like a new connection every time. They like the thrill of having a new connection with a different person every time. And they think it boosts their confidence because based on what that person is saying. The problem with that, it could cause a problem in your relationship. It could harm you because that person, if they're not really respectful of themselves, especially when they have low self-esteem, they won't think about you. And they may possibly have sex without protection, which could harm you. So you have to really, really have an understanding with a person that has an infidelity addiction, because they're going to be with a new relationship all the time. And sometimes they may not even think or consider you and could harm you. And I feel like that person definitely needs therapy. They're not going to be honest. You're dealing with a lack of trust. You're dealing with a lack of respect. And you have to decide if this is a relationship I want to continue in. I'm not sure if that's something a person should continue in. So you have to really think about that. I'm not saying to destroy your marriage or destroy the relationship. I'm saying that if you have someone that has an addiction that you know have constantly keep having infidelity, there's no reason to be in a marriage. There's no reason to be in that relationship. Let that person do that thing and harm themselves. Don't let them harm you. Okay? So I hope that helped you. Another one, sexting. Online sexting, online sexual validation is an addiction. Especially when it is compulsive. It's a lot of flirting. It's a lot of explicit messaging. It's a lot of emotional sexual exchange. That's an addiction. That person has an addiction. They need attention. They're bored. Are they bored with you? Probably so. They're emotionally immature because they're not mature enough to just do it with you. If they're out there doing it with everybody else and meeting different women online and sexing them, sending their pictures, you know what I'm talking about. That's just an addiction that they can't get enough of. And they believe it's harmless. And that's why they continue to do it. And when they do it, they want validation. And they think it's harmless. It's just having fun in their mind. But with that type of personality of a person who is addicted to uh, sexing and online and doing all that type of validation of sex, they have a lack of self-esteem, and it has a lot with them rebuilding their self-esteem. And you pretty much could just have a conversation with a person like that and say, hey, look, we need some transparency here, because apparently somebody is having an issue with self-worth. You got me? And so you have to have that kind of conversation, and you have to have your boundaries set with a person who desires more of that than you. And there's no reason to be in that type of relationship if they're not doing it with you and they're doing it with others. There's no reason to be in that type of relationship. Okay. Another one is anonymous sexual encounter addiction. That means the person who seeks sexual relationships without any emotional connection. They just want to have sex with every person they meet every time they go out every week. And they meet a different person all the time. And it's just exciting just to be with this person, that person, a different person every week. They have an attachment issue. They have things that can cause shame, and it can cause emotional detachment when you keep getting with different people all the time. You want this person, that person. There's just no emotional connection, no accountability. You got me? So you have to really watch that. If you meet someone that they just want to have sex all the time with various different people, and you find out it's happening all the time, they really need to go to a sex addiction therapy and get some type of recovery from their emotional feelings, because they have something that's lacking, that they got to be with different people. And they need to fix that, because they're going to avoid these conversations with you and not understand that they're just out here with passing strangers, different people, and you're allowing him to keep coming back with you, knowing he's out there with other people. So you have to make them accountable for the way they are. Okay. Another one is a fantasy addiction. You have a person that has that fantasize about having all these type of obsessive type of sexual relationships and sexual fantasies, and they replace the real relationship with something else. And they fantasize about how they want to be. You know, it causes you to disconnect, because they are so caught up in the fantasy. So they're fearing the intimacy the right way, in a way, with you. And it feels like it's stress when you are all intimate, because they're fantasizing about what they really truly like the sex to be. You got me? So it's an unresolved dissatisfaction in relationships or in an act. So the fantasy controls how they feel within the actual act. Are you with me? Okay. So you have to be mindful of this, because there's an emotional disconnect. They need to fix their emotional issue. And it could be a form of stress that they're doing that, and they're fantasizing what they want, but they know it's not able to be fulfilled. And so it causes stress within the relationship because of their thought process of what they like to desire. And it's addiction that they keep fantasizing about something that you're not capable of providing. You got me? It's a fantasy. And so when you get together, you feel like you have a lack to offer them. And that's not it. It's just they're fantasizing about something that's not reality. And so you have to learn how to move from that. People that have a compulsive, another one is a compulsive masturbation. They masturbate all the time. All the time. That is just an addiction. They think it's not, but it is. They desire sex, don't get me wrong, but they use masturbation as a way to regulate their emotions. And they have no problem doing it. But that type sometimes can cause anxiety. It can cause depression. It's an early condition that took place, that happened in their past. And they use the masturbation to control their actual effort to desire someone. And they replace masturbation with the actual intimacy. And they don't have to. And you be wondering why we're not having a sexual act as often, because they're satisfied with masturbating. And that might be why you don't see them as much, because they're masturbating. They don't need you to see them. It's been taken care of. But the thing about that, a person that does that all the time, they have a mental issue that they need to handle, because that's what they're using to routinely to restore their feeling or their desire or their stress or their lack, and they're using it as emotional coping, and that's what they're doing. And you have to have a conversation about that. Why is it something that they're doing and isolating the relationship? Do they want to be in a relationship? Because it's like if they could be replacing the actual act of intimacy with them masturbating, with their habit. So you have to have a conversation about that. And this last one I'm going to say, and then I'm going to let you go. It's about, sometimes sex can be used to validate the attention that a person is seeking. And they sometimes use sex as an attention. Sex becomes a attention addiction. It's almost like they need sexual desire to feel worthy. So they're going to always have sex or desire or want sex to feel worthy. And this comes from a childhood neglect. It comes from a rejection that they had within a past relationship, some type of trauma that caused them to feel that way. And so they're always looking for attention and want to feel valued, need to get a proof of value. It's almost like their sex is driven with attention. It's addiction. And the only way you can deal with and hopefully give some form of solution to a person is it's all about their self-worth. Pretty much these things that I'm talking to you has a lot to do with a person's esteem. And you have to help them, or they have to learn to rebuild their self-worth. You may not be able to help them, but you have to identify with them the reassurance of themselves. Because that's what we're dealing with. They're dealing with a lack of self-worth. You see? And so with people like that, no matter how much love you receive, their desire for you still feel is not secure. You got me? Because they're looking for attention, sexual attention. Are you with me? So you've got to really, really, really understand that a high sex drive sometimes has a lot to do with these various types of addictions. And they get it from various things they've learned in their past. And it has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with them as an individual that they have experienced growing up. And they have carried it on into their relationship. And as I had said earlier, it's just emotional escape. Sex addiction is an emotional escape from the reality of a connection, of a relationship. And they confuse their relationship by blaming others for what they're feeling. And that's just their desire. Your partner is a person that, if you are that, or that's your partner, you just have some emotional unavailability in your relationship. And if that is what you're having, and you sense secrecy and nothing doesn't make sense, that can't be explained, you have to have a conversation with this person and find out if they have an addiction. You have to find out if they have an addiction, because you're continuing on in a relationship that you knowingly know is not going to help you within the relationship. You got me? So you have to get help. They have to get help with their sex addiction because it does not heal your love. It's not going to heal through just love. You've got to heal through them, you and them being aware that you're aware, and they have to be accountable, and they have to get professional help. And here's the most important thing about this. You are not responsible for fixing someone else's addiction. You're just not. So I hope if you have any questions about what's happening in your relationship and you feel confused, you feel stuck, you feel emotionally unsafe, and you want some type of hope and reality, again, I offer private consultation. I give you clarity in your consultation, and it's designed to help, especially my women. But I will can help men or women to understand what they're dealing with. I'll set you a healthy way to get boundaries within your relationship. And you just have to decide, the next step and be confident in it. And that's what I help you with. So just book your session down in the link below, and look forward to giving you clarity and giving you power through your relationship. Okay? So you've been with Love Dr. Pamela. Thank you for joining me again on this talk. I hope the information I gave you on sex addiction to help you understand how you deal with people and how to get through this journey of understanding what most people are dealing with and what you do and don't have to deal with. So you've been with Love Dr. Pamela. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back again as we continue to talk about what? Love, love, love.